This is March 28th and we are in BBA section B, and we have been reading Plato's text Allegory of the Cave. And we start the class with someone recapturing what we did in class yesterday. So anybody can come with a notebook and you can read out, or you can just tell without consulting notebooks. Who is willing to come? Roll number 37. 37. Lakshmi Guru. Okay. Roll number 7. Ashish Rondia. Okay. So go on. Share your understanding. Tell us about what we did in class last time.
In yesterday's class, our teacher taught us about the physical world and metaphysical world.
Hello, class.
And the idea of the ideal
world. He is not reciting rituals. You need to listen to him. Say it again.
In yesterday's class, our teacher taught us about the physical world and metaphysical world.
Okay, the physical world and the metaphysical world. And then what else?
And the idea of the ideal world.
Idea of the ideal world, okay.
In yesterday's class was based on the story written by the Plato named Allegory of the Cave.
Okay.
In the story, our teacher shows the process of making hypothesis by giving his own example.
The process of making hypothesis with the example of my wife's sickness, dengue fever.
And another topic of the story was the allegory of the cave. In this story, the writer tells of...
Let's not call it a story, call it a dialogue.
The topic was the dialogue of allegory of the cave. In this dialogue, writer tells how the philosophy deals with the reality.
Okay, how philosophy deals with reality, okay?
There are two types of reality, physical and metaphysical reality.
Okay, physical, metaphysical reality, yes.
Physical reality includes visible world, sensory reality. And
good. Visible world, sensory reality, good.
Whereas metaphysical world includes spiritual, eternal, universal reality.
Okay, good. Good notes, yes.
At last, our teacher showed an example of people living in the cave and the people living in the outside in the context of...
We performed a drama, right?
Yes.
We performed drama. Thank you, well done. What I'm happy, you have got very clear and good notes. What's your name? Ashish. I won't forget your name now because I am impressed by your note-making style.
Thank you, sir.
It's very good. Yes, please. Now someone tell me, what was the last thing I talked about in class before leaving class yesterday? I'll pick up from there. What was the last idea that we were talking about? What was the idea that we were talking at the end of the class? With which idea we ended the class yesterday? Someone, Chitu, consult the note and tell me. Class, Sakine Velama, what I was talking about. Hello? Bola na ho. What was you talking about? Class. Physical realm. Okay. Okay. I was talking about physical realm. Take a salah. In today's class, I will take you through a super fast tour of the essay. Super fast, I say. So please fasten your seat belts before you take the flight. There might be a lot of jolting. There may be a lot of turbulence. Hope you arrive safely. Let's start. I'll very quickly recall and tell what we were discussing in this. And you can use today's class to make a quick note, because at the end of the class, I will make you write. At the end of the class, I'll make you summarize the class. Okay? So as you watch, you can also note down. So we began by talking what is philosophy. What is philosophy? Philosophy is a rational and abstract study of reality, knowledge, values and existence. For example, Plato in this allegory talks about what is reality and how we can know. And philosophy uses reason and logic, not emotion. Philosophy is based more on reason and logic. And in philosophy, we inquire about systems of belief or principles that guide our behavior and thinking. So this is what philosophy is about. Don't need, you can note the topics. Don't copy this whole thing because I'll mail you. Make notes in 1 or 2 words. As I lecture, note my points in 1 or 2 words. Okay. Then second we talked about genre. We said that this allegory is a dialogue. Okay. Then we talked about Plato. We said that Plato is a Greek philosopher. He was the student of Socrates and he was the teacher of Aristotle. And Plato wrote about philosophy, topics like metaphysics, ethics, politics, aesthetics. Metaphysics means beyond the physical reality. And aesthetics means the idea of beauty. Okay, these are the topics that Plato writes about. And he also writes about the view he holds is that there are ideal and eternal realities beyond the physical world. See, is in one sentence. What is his philosophy? There are ideal and eternal realities beyond the physical world, and those realities can be known only through reason, not through senses. Okay. Then we read that Allegory of the Cave is written as a form of dialogue. Plato's dialogues are literary works, and these dialogues, they present philosophical arguments. For example, in this dialogue, Allegory of the Cave, the argument is what is reality and if we can know the reality. And the argument is that yes, we can know the reality, but we can know reality only through reasoning, not through sensory perception. Right? Okay. Then Socratic method. The Socratic method is the method of teaching and learning. And this method derives from the name of the Greek philosopher Socrates. And under this method, there will be 2 people, probably a teacher and a student. And these 2 people will learn something through conversation. And the teacher will speak a lot. The teacher will pose questions, answer questions. The student will sometimes agree and disagree, nod the head or shake the head, agree, disagree and move ahead. And the teacher will gradually clarify students' confusion. The student is ignorant, the teacher is learned. Learning this way is called as the Socratic method. Then what is thesis, antithesis and synthesis? Look, for example, day is a term. Day is a term. And night is a term. Now these are binary terms. These are binary. When you say binary, you mean opposed but coming together. Binary means opposed but coming together. Now, you will be surprised to see that between these 2 terms, one is privileged. One is privileged. For example, people privilege day. People never pay you salary for sleeping at home. They pay you salary for working in the daylight in their office. Day is valuable, people think. Nights are dangerous, bad, evil, because crimes take place at night. So what do you see? Day is privileged, night is relegated. Nobody respects this idea. Now, so they are opposite. Now day becomes thesis. Thesis is a privileged idea. That idea which you value more is your thesis. Now, that idea which you oppose, don't like, reject, that becomes antithesis. What becomes? Antithesis. Right? Now, what we need to understand that, although we say that day and night are opposite, but actually day and night are not opposite. If you do minute study, you will find similarities between day and night. For example, evening. When it is evening, you have some light, so it looks like day. When it is evening, you switch on lights in the room, because inside is dark, outside is still lingering light, inside dark, so there is darkness also. So evening has the quality of both day and night. So evening, you can say evening is the synthesis of day and night. Day and night. Yo, बच्चा जन्मे भने हेराउने मान्छेहरूले आहा निदा ठ्याक्कै बाउको भन्छ एकजना आएर, अर्कोले ओहो नाक त आमामा गएछ भन्छ, अर्कोले कान त मामामा गएछ भन्छ, सुनेको छ? अब the father is thesis, the mother can be antithesis, the child is synthesis, because the baby has features of both mother and father. Is that clear? Now in literature, thesis is an idea, antithesis is also an idea. But the idea that is thesis and the idea that is antithesis, they will be opposed to each other. And the common ground between two opposing ideas is known as synthesis. And please understand, from synthesis, a new thesis is born. From synthesis, a new thesis is born. You will understand this concept better in the next chapter by Karl Marx, the Communist Manifesto. Here also, in Plato's text also, look the thesis. Idea is the thesis, matter is the antithesis. Plato goes with idea. He says idea is real and matter is unreal. Plato says idea is real and the matter is unreal. So don't you see the thesis and antithesis? But I don't know where is the synthesis, you decide. I don't know where is synthesis between materialism and idealism, you decide. Okay, then the dialectic method is just like that. Let's read. It's a way of reasoning. What is that? A way of reasoning and learning. What is involved? It has a dialogue. For example, in Allegory of the Cave, you have Socrates, and you have Glaucon. What is the next person? Glaucon. These two people. Dia means two. Dia means two. So dialogue means talk between two people, right? And they debate between different perspectives or arguments, right? It aims to discover the truth. What does dialogue aim? To discover the truth. And in this dialogue, they want to discover the truth about truth. The truth about truth. They begin by saying that our sensory perception is the truth. And they end by saying that no, sensory perceptions are not truth. Right? Then dialectic involves, look, there are contradictions like between idea and matter, for example. There are differing concepts, right? They use hypothesis, I told you last time. This hypothesis, and they explore the issue, and finally they arrive at a conclusion, right? For example, okay, it's not given here. You have idea 1, you have idea 2, okay, spirit, matter. In dialectic, you will explore the truth of these two opposing ideas, and finally through hypothesis reasoning, you will arrive at. This is a method used in philosophy. Okay, Plato's philosophical idealism. What is Plato's philosophical? Okay, look here. This object you can see there. If you believe that the shadow over there is real, you are not an idealist. You are a materialist. Because you believe in what your eyes show you. If you read this essay, did you pay attention? A lot of times in the dialogue, Plato refers to the eyes. Have you seen? In this dialogue, eyes are mentioned multiple times. Because it is through the eyes primarily that we gain knowledge about the material world. And Plato says that what you see with your eyes may not be true. May not be true. And what he says, the material, the visible, the material, the concrete is not true. Is not true. What is true? The ideal is true. What is true? The eternal is true. What is true? The universal is true. For example, Divakar sir as a particular instance of human being is not true, because he will die. One day he will die. And his body will be cremated. He will be no more. But the idea of a human being will never die. The idea of a human being will never die. Divakar is a local, particular example of human being. I am not universal. The idea of human being is universal. A guy looking like me in Africa is also a human being. A guy looking like me in Antarctica is also a human being. So the idea of human being is universal. A Japanese might look unlike me, but he's a human being. A Korean might not look like me, but he's a human being. Do you see? People have different shapes and figures and bodies, right? But they are, what is common? They all are human beings. So what is common? The idea is common. What is common? The idea is common. The idea is eternal. And Divakar's body is a material manifestation of the idea. Okay, I'll do something funny. Answer is yes, okay? Answer yes. Are you a rich girl? Show me some money you have. Show me some money you have. Any money you have? Yeah, take out the money you have. Take out the money you have. Take out all the money you have. Okay. Okay, we have this money here. Look, hello. This money is a local example of richness, right? Richness, right? Plato would say this is false. This is false. Plato would say the idea of richness is true. The idea of richness is true. This is a local example, right? I too can have this example. I can have money. We all have money. We all have money. The common thing about the money we all have is that money makes us rich. Money makes us. Do you disagree? You may say, no sir, money does not make us rich. In a sense, right? Okay. So the idea is real is idealism. The idea that ideas are real is known as idealism. Okay. Now, this dialogue that we are studying has been extracted from a 10-volume book titled The Republic, which was written by Plato. And in this book, which was written 375 BCE, Plato explores nature and value of justice. This book is about justice. Hello. The word justice comes from just. Comes from just. Why did Plato talk about justice? Because Plato wanted to create a just society. What society? A just society. What do you mean by a just society? A society where nothing wrong happens. A society where no bad things happen. Do you want Nepal to be that kind of society? You have to work for it. You have to work for it. So Plato wanted to create a perfect society. And the perfect society has two qualities. What? The perfect society has perfect goodness. What did I say? Perfect goodness. And it has perfect justice. When is society perfect? When there is goodness and when there is justice. Right? And he wrote this book, Republic, as a plan to create such a society. And in this book, Plato presented his vision of ideal state. You should read. I remember still, it was Lomas in 2016 batch. Lomas Adhikari. He used to sit over there in the corner. It was Lomas, I remember. We taught this essay to the class. The other day, Lomas went to the local bookshop and he bought the whole Republic. And in a month, he finished reading it. And he came to me, Divakar sir, being inspired by this, I read the whole thing. Look, I want to see again somebody like Lomas who says, I'll read the whole thing. Don't press yourself. Okay. So it's about ideal state. And this book is also about what? Philosopher king. Who is a philosopher king? Philosopher king is simply the king who has no desire to rule, who has no greed for material possessions. As a result, who is a very honest ruler. Who is a very honest ruler. He does not misuse his office and chair. Today you see what our ministers do. Do you see? They take all the money, right? And we complain in newspaper, media, Prashtachar. So who is a philosopher king? A philosopher king is one who is not Prashtachari. Why he is not Prashtachari? Because he thinks this bhautik sampatti is nothing. Money is nothing. Bike is nothing. Gold is nothing. Jewelries are nothing. Silver is nothing. So he has no desire for material prosperity. He has no desire for material. He has desire only for two things. A philosopher king has desire for two things. He has desire for goodness and desire for justice. If our rulers are like this, our country will be better. Okay. Then dialogues. I won't discuss this thing. It's clear to us. Okay. Now I won't discuss. No. Yes. What is allegory? We need to understand this thing pretty well. Let me use the whiteboard here. Okay. An allegory is a story. Let's say it's a story. Okay. It can be poem also. A poem can be allegorical. A play can be allegorical. Now, this story has two aspects. There is set A of objects, right? And then there is set B of concepts. In an allegory, objects represent concepts. What did I say? Objects represent concepts. For example, let me give example. Okay, objects, cave, concept, physical world. What? Physical world. Okay, objects, people walking the road. Concept, higher reality but not perfect. Okay. Fire. Object. Concept. Knowledge. Object. Prisoners. Concept. People in society. Objects, chains, concept, ignorance, objects, upward climbing. One of the prisoners walks up to the door, right? Concept, obtaining higher knowledge. Upward climb symbolizes higher knowledge. Okay, look. Door of the cave. Concept. Enlightenment. Because when he reaches door, he starts understanding that this world is false and that world is real. So the door of the cave also symbolizes transition. It symbolizes, what did I say? Transition. Okay. Hello. Reflection in the water. Object. Concept. Higher reality. Then sun. Wait. Moon. Star. Sky. They are also higher reality. Finally, sun. It stands for ultimate reality. So do you see, in an allegory, you have objects. And these objects represent concepts. They represent ideas. Material objects represent ideas. And now the question is, this is known as this kind of comparison is known as analogy. What do we call it? Analogy. And analogy is a comparison between two dissimilar things. Right? And now, hello, the purpose of such comparison is to teach you a moral lesson. A moral lesson. For example, the purpose of this allegory, this analogy, this comparison is to teach you the lesson that, hey, guys and girls in second class, section B, please understand that this world is not real. If you start believing that this world is not real, you will not be greedy for material things. You will not be greedy for material things. You won't be greedy for degrees. You won't be greedy for titles. You won't be greedy for property, money. You won't be greedy for houses, buildings. You won't be greedy for jewels. You won't be greedy for diamond, silver, gold. You won't be greedy for office and power. Look at our ministers. How they fight like dogs for chair. Why do they fight like dogs for chair? Because they believe that this world is real. And Plato wants you to believe that this world is not real. Okay. So you think this is real, right? Okay. Understand? At the end of the class, you will do a writing exercise. हेर त मैले तिमीहरूलाई लेख्न भन्यो भने अघि उताको क्लासमा म क्यामेरा बोल्छु ल उताको क्लासमा पनि लास्टको 10 मिनेट लेख भनेको पहिलो रेस्पोन्स दियो अनि मैले कुरा गरेँ उनीहरूले के भन्यो सर हजुरले मात्र लेख भन्नुहुन्छ अरु क्लासमा लेख्नु पर्दैन अनि हजुरले गरेको काम एब नर्मल लाग्छ भन्यो के किनभने यो त हजुरले मात्रै गर्नुहुन्छ अरूले गर्दैन सबैले गर्ने भए नर्मल लाग्थ्यो के बुझ्नु पर्यो हेलो मलाई हेर्नुस् कुनै पनि कुरा सिक्ने सबैभन्दा इफेक्टिभ आइडिया भनेको लेख्नु के हो लेख्नु ओके सो Allegory, okay. Theme. Now, there are many themes here. I'll come back this one. Okay. The major theme of the actual Panamla. Human beings are ignorant of the true nature of reality. First thing. We are ignorant about the true nature of reality. For us, the material things are real, whereas material things are not. Right? Then rely on the senses and opinions instead of a rational thinking. Look, draw the triangle. Senses, opinion, rationality. So Plato says, how can we know reality? Somebody might say, we can know reality through senses. Because what we see is real. Plato says, no, we cannot know reality through senses. One can say, we can know reality by Facebook. Why? Facebook. मेरो घरमा उनले हेर्छन् भिडियोहरु हैन अनि हाम्रो लागि काम लागिरहेको छ नि त अब हाम्रो काम गर्दा मान्छे के बनाएर भन्छ नि त फेक भन्छ नि त यो फेक भन्छ अनि उनले त फेक भन्ने बुझ्दैन के हेर्छ अनि फेक कुरा हेरेपछि उनीलाई लाग्छ रियल अनि कुद्दै बस्छ हेर्छ त के भन्छ अनि मैले उनलाई भन्छु यो तिमीले कहाँ देख फेसबुकमा म सम्झाउँछु फेसबुक एउटा पेज हुन्छ त्यो बेलालाई FACE फेसबुक नपढ चाहिँ FAKE फेक बुक पढ भन्छु के Facebook is not Facebook. It is fake. Things on Facebook are fake, but we take it to be real. So what is happening? We believe in opinions. We believe it, and we should examine opinions. Now, Plato says we can know reality through reasoning. Through reasoning, okay.
So upward climbing to quality. Upward climbing to
Door of the cave. The door stands for point of transition. The point where you change. किन कराएको तिम्रो टाइम त छ त अझै. Okay. Then अगाडि पढाउँदा कतिजना पढाउँदै. Next, the concept of philosopher king. This is another thing. Plato argued that we should teach philosophy to every citizen. Plato had intensive plan of education in a society. In Plato's ideal society, Plato discusses how we should educate women, children, young people, and he says that young men, not women, men he says, young men should be trained in philosophy. They should be taught philosophy. Why? Because when you teach philosophy, the first thing you teach is free yourself from physical desire. हामी फिलोसफर भयौँ भने हामीलाई सेक्सको मन लाग्यो भने पहिलो थट के आउँछ भने यो ठीक कुरा होइन, यसलाई सप्रेस गर्नुपर्छ, योबाट परै बस्नु पर्छ भन्ने आइडिया पहिला आउँछ. र त्यो सेक्सुअल अर्ज भनेको ठीक होइन, यसलाई सप्रेस गर्नुपर्छ अथवा म्यानेज गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने आयो भने हामीबाट रेप हुँदैन, हामीबाट सेक्सुअल मिसकन्डक्ट हुँदैन, हामीबाट सेक्सुअल एब्युज हुँदैन. त फिलोसफीले के सिकाउँछ? फिलोसफी टिचेस यु control.